When I walked down the aisle that day in the gown I had dreamed of since I was a little girl, I was supposed to feel joy overflowing inside me. The flowers were perfectly placed, the music drifted softly through the air, and every gaze was on us. But behind my carefully painted smile, something within me was splintering. For years, I had carried a truth I never intended to voice. Yet when it came time for the vows, my lips betrayed me. Daniel held my hands tightly, his eyes shining with unshakable devotion, as though I was the center of his world. He had always been unwavering, loyal, steady, the kind of man who built love on patience, sacrifice, and constancy, not fleeting sparks. And maybe that's why guilt had always lived in my shadow. I told myself that marrying him was the right choice, that stability was love, but deep down I knew my heart was never fully his. When my turn came to speak, the silence pressed on me like a weight. My chest tightened, my pulse roared in my ears, and before I could stop myself, the words spilled out, sharp and poisonous though true. "I need to confess something," I whispered, my voice shaking. "I never really loved you." A wave of gasps swept across the room. My mother covered her mouth. Daniel's best man shifted uneasily. And Daniel, oh Daniel, his face in that moment is etched into me forever. His lips parted as if the breath had been torn from him. His grip on my hand slackened, and the warmth in the room vanished. My chest ached. Yet a twisted sense of release crept in. For years, I had lied to him, to myself. And for one fragile moment, I believed truth was better than illusion. But watching the man who had built his entire future around me unravel before my eyes, I realized something. Truth spoken at the wrong moment doesn't heal. It destroys. Daniel didn't shout. He didn't argue. He just stared at me with broken eyes that begged for an answer I could never give. Silence stretched unbearably, whispers from the guests cutting into the stillness, mixing with the music that suddenly felt all wrong. My throat burned, but I couldn't undo what I had said. My words clung to the air like a curse. Daniel slowly released my hands. The warmth I had known for years disappeared, replaced by a coldness that seeped into me. His jaw tightened, his eyes locked on mine, but the softness I used to find there had hardened into something sharp, almost unrecognizable. For a fleeting moment, I thought he would storm out and leave me standing there alone. But instead, he squared his shoulders and spoke in a voice I had never heard from him before, calm, steady, but laced with devastation. "So all this time," he whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "I was loving you for both of us." His words nearly brought me to my knees. My lips trembled, but I couldn't respond. How could I admit that I thought comfort would be enough, that his love might one day teach me to love him back? The truth was, he had given me everything, and I had offered him only fragments. The murmurs grew louder, judgmental stares piercing me from all sides. His family glared. My own relatives shook their heads. I wanted to flee, but my legs were frozen. Daniel, though, didn't hesitate. He turned to the officiant and said firmly, "This wedding is over." Those words thundered louder than church bells. My heart pounded painfully, not for the marriage lost, but for the realization of what I had destroyed. I had taken his love for granted, believing it would always be there, unbreakable. Yet with a single sentence, I had reduced it to ashes. Daniel walked away, leaving me trembling at the altar, surrounded by eyes that cut into me like blades. And in that moment, I learned what true loneliness was. Not the absence of people, but the absence of the one soul who truly cared. The days that followed blurred into silence and shame. Word spread quickly. Neighbors whispered, colleagues avoided me, and my phone filled with messages I couldn't bear to read. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw Daniel's face, the shock, the heartbreak, the quiet strength as he walked away. I tried to reach him. I left voicemails, wrote endless emails, even went to the apartment we were meant to share. But he never answered. The curtains stayed drawn, the lights off. He had disappeared, carrying his broken heart somewhere beyond my apologies. Alone in my room, I replayed every memory. The nights he stayed up with me when I was sick. The mornings he brought me coffee just the way I liked it. The sacrifices he made without expecting anything in return. He had loved me in the kind of way people spend lifetimes searching for. And I had stood in front of the world and confessed that I never gave that love back. Some friends told me I was brave for speaking the truth, but their words rang hollow. There's a fine line between courage and cruelty, and I had crossed it. My confession wasn't bravery. It was destruction. Months later, a mutual friend told me Daniel had moved away, started a new job, and was slowly piecing his life back together. I should have felt relief. Instead, the ache deepened, knowing he was healing while I was drowning in regret for throwing away the only person who truly loved me. I often wonder what might have happened if I had stayed silent, if I had spoken the vows and buried the truth a little longer. But regret is merciless. It doesn't remind you of what you lost. It reminds you of what you destroyed with your own hands. And so, my story is not just about a wedding that failed. It's about a man who loved with everything he had and a woman who learned, too late, that some truths once spoken can never be forgiven